Now I'm going to show you how to make the fin of the tail. We're going to make 2 of these, and I used my Red Heart Super Saver Macaw colored yarn. So the first thing you're going to do is make your magic circle. And I'm still using my 4mm. I found my Susan Bates 4mm crochet hook, the one with the soft handle that I had misplaced, but it's still a 4mm. So you're going to take your yarn, drape it across your 4 fingers, use your thumb to stabilize, and then wrap the yarn around your 2 middle fingers, and then hold it in place with your pinky and your thumb. Then you're just going to go and bring up a loop, then yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through that loop for your slip knot. Then you're going to place 6 single crochet into your magic circle. So go ahead and bring up a loop. You have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through those 2 loops for a single crochet. You're going to make 6 single crochet into the magic circle. Then you just take your forefinger and your thumb, hold the base of the 6 single crochet. You have the 2 loops on the opposite side. Go ahead and pull on one of them. If it doesn't close, let go and pull on the other one, but this one's closing, so just gently close it. Don't worry if you don't get it all the way closed, we can close it more later. Then take your loose yarn end and pull on that. Then just turn your work, and then you're going to make 2 single crochet into that first stitch. So 2 single crochet into the first stitch, and you're going to make 2 single crochet into every stitch around for a total of 12 stitches. I'm just going to make a couple of them with you. So I just finished 2 single crochet into 1 stitch. I'm going to go into the next stitch. I go under both loops. Then I'm going to make 2 more, and I'm going to continue repeating this step, 2 single crochet into each stitch until I have a total of 12 around the circle. Now you can close this middle of the circle the rest of the way. Just take and turn your work over and pull on that loose yarn end on the back, and that closes up the circle nicely. I'm going to pull a little bit more. You can see how the magic circle just makes a snug closure, which is what I love about this magic circle. Then go ahead and get your yarn marker and place it right where you left off. I just use one of my scraps of yarn. Then you're going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch around for 3 rounds. So that means each time you reach your yarn marker, and you don't need to remove the yarn marker, you just leave it in place, you should have only 12 stitches every time. You don't want more and you don't want less. And you're going to repeat 1 single crochet in every stitch until you've completed 3 rounds, and then come back. This is how your work should look. You see how I finished 3 rounds. Go ahead and move your yarn marker up to where you left off. And we're going to make another increase round, which means we're going to increase the number of stitches in the round. Right now you should only have 12 stitches around. You're going to make 1 single crochet into 1 stitch, and then 2 single crochet into your second stitch. And then you're going to repeat that all the way around back to the yarn marker. So I'm going to make one more set with you. 1 single crochet into 1 stitch, and then 2 single crochet into the second stitch. And then go ahead and repeat that all the way around back to the yarn marker. You should have completed 18 stitches in the round. Now we're going to make one more increase round. Go ahead and take your yarn marker and move it up to where you left off. This time you're going to make 1 single crochet into 2 stitches. So 1 single crochet into 2 stitches, and then make 2 single crochet into the 3rd stitch, and then go ahead and repeat that all the way around back to the yarn marker. So again, you're going to make 1 single crochet into 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the 3rd stitch, and then repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So this is what my work looks like so far. You should have finished 24 stitches in the round. Then go ahead and move your yarn marker up, and you're only going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So that means that you shouldn't have more than 24 or less than 24 stitches each time you get around to the yarn marker. Don't remove your yarn marker, and then just continue 1 single crochet in every stitch around until you've completed 3 rounds, and then come back. I just finished my 3 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and this is how my work looks so far. Now we're going to make 2 more increase rounds. Go ahead and take your yarn marker, move it up to where you left off. For this increase round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into 3 stitches. So we're just going to continue on where we left off. Remember, our last increase round was 1 single crochet into 2 stitches. Well, now it's 1 single crochet into 3 stitches, and then you make your decrease stitch. So you go into the next stitch, bring up a loop. I'm sorry, we're not doing a decrease stitch. We're making an increase stitch. So 1 single crochet into 3, and then 2 single crochet into the 4th stitch. And then you repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. 1 single crochet into 3 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the 4th stitch. Repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So you should have 24 stitches in the round. After that round, go ahead and move your yarn marker up. This is our last increase round. For this increase round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into 4 stitches, and then make 2 single crochet into the 5th stitch. Then repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So now you should have 36 stitches in the round, and this is what my work looks like so far. Now you're going to take and move your yarn marker up, and you're only going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So that means that every time you come back around to your yarn marker, you're going to have a stitch count of 36. So 1 single crochet in every stitch around. Leave your yarn marker in, and then continue around until you've completed 3 rounds. So I just finished my 1 single crochet in every stitch for 3 rounds. Then go ahead and take and move your yarn marker up for your first decrease round. So that means we're going to decrease the number of stitches in the round. So now you should have 36 stitches in the round, and we're going to decrease the stitch count to 30. So you go ahead and take your yarn marker, if you haven't already, move it up, and then make 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So I have 1 single crochet into 4 stitches. Now we're going to make a decrease stitch. It's also called single crochet 2 stitches together, or single crochet 2 together. Take your crochet hook, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop. You have 2 loops on the hook. Go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop. You have 3 loops on the hook. Go ahead and yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 3 loops for a decrease stitch. So again, you're going to make 1 single crochet into 4 stitches. And then you're going to make your decrease stitch or single crochet 2 together. So you go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, go through all 3 loops for your decrease stitch. So go ahead, repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker and then come back. So now you should have a stitch count of 30 in the round. Then go ahead and move your yarn marker up for our next decrease round. For this decrease round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. And then make your decrease stitch. Then repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. Now you should have 24 stitches in the round, and this is how your work should look so far. Then go ahead and move your yarn marker up, and you're only going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch around for a total of 3 rounds. And that means that each time you get around to the yarn marker, you're only going to have 24 stitches still in the round. And you just keep on crocheting until you've completed 3 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch. I just finished 3 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and this is how my work looks so far. Now you can go ahead and make a slip stitch. So you take your crochet hook, go into the next stitch over, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and then bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. Then go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, go through your loop, and bring enough yarn through just to bury into your work. And then again, you're going to need 2 of these. Now this part is optional, but I just put a little bit of craft stuffing in mine. So they're still fairly flat. Make sure that yours are still fairly flat if you decide to put stuffing in, craft stuffing. You don't want them to be very round. So mine are still flat. And then just take your 2 loose yarn ends and go ahead and tie a knot. Then go ahead and take your crochet hook and go into the stitch on one of the top portions of one of the fins, right next to where you tied a knot. And we're going to join our same colored yarn. So you're going to bring up a loop with your yarn, and then chain 1. Then you're going to tie a knot with the loose yarn end of the yarn that you just joined. So make sure you grab the right loose yarn end and then tie another knot. Then you're going to go into the next stitch on the opposite fin to join the 2 together. We're going to start working in rounds, joining the bottom portion of the fin. Bring up a loop, and then just make a single crochet. And then you're just going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch until you reach the opposite side. And then come back. So now I've reached the other fin, and starting with my first stitch I actually have about 24 stitches around before I go to the opposite fin to join. Just bring up a loop, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, make your single crochet, and then you just continue around one single crochet in every stitch on the opposite fin. And then when you reach where you started, come back and I'll show you what I did. Alright, so now I'm back to where I started, and I'm just going to place a yarn marker just to kind of help me keep track of where I am. So as far as the stitch count, I'll give it to you when I come back, but don't worry if your stitch count is off by a couple from mine. That may happen because remember, we have a couple of stitches here, so depending on how many stitches that you skipped, you might have one or more two stitches in the round, but it's not going to make a big difference in your tail. So again, continue working in rounds, making one single crochet in every stitch around for 3 rounds. When you come back, I'll give you what my stitch count was. That way you can get an idea of what my stitch count was. So this is what mine looks like so far. I finished 3 rounds of one single crochet in every stitch. Go ahead and make a slip stitch into the next stitch over. And for my stitch count, I had 48 in the round. But like I said, don't worry if you're off by 1 or 2 stitches. It's not going to make that big of a difference. Then go ahead and yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and bring the yarn through both loops on the hook. Then you're going to finish off. But make sure that you finish off by yarning over, turn the hook upside down, go through the loop, and then bring enough yarn through to sew the fin together. So you can see how I brought a lot of yarn through. If you would rather just get some yarn on your tapestry needle and sew that way, that's fine. But right now we're going to fix the fin so that it kind of fans out. You can go ahead and remove your yarn marker, and then I'm going to show you what to do next. This is what it looks like so far. So now I have my tapestry needle onto that loose yarn end that I made. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew here in the gap. I'm going to sew it together, but I'm only going to sew the first 3 rounds, 1, 2, 3, on each side. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to take my tapestry needle and I'm going to go into the wrong side. Right now I have the right side showing towards me. And then I'm going to come up through the gap with my tapestry needle. And again, I'm only going to sew together. You're only going to make small stitches on the side that you're showing because you don't want it to show. And then just go through the opposite side. And we're only going to sew the first 3 rows on each side together. Make sure you don't grab the back side as you're sewing. So again, only the first 3 rows in the gap. Then, after you sewed the first 3 rows, then come up to the inside. Here's my long end with my tapestry needle. And then I'm going to pinch together the back side of the fin. For mine, I have 10 stitches, 5 on each side. Make sure that they're even so that your holes are the same on both sides. So again, I pinched together 10 stitches. Then I'm going to take my tapestry needle and go through the front of the fin and then back through the pinched portion that I made and just sew it together and sew it to the front. When you sew it, make sure that you still are able to get into that stitch for crocheting, and then just kind of sew the pinched portion together. And what that does is it creates a little bit of a flare, and then we're also going to sew this portion in the middle to keep it so that the fin flares out. So make sure you only have the 10 stitches that you're sewing together. Then you can take and pinch the back side. Make sure that you flare your fin out, and then you can take and finish sewing the back side together. So that the fin will flare out. So you can see how I'm kind of flaring the one side and the other side, and then just sewing the two fins together to create the flare. And then, after you sew those two together with the flare, bring your yarn back in through the center. This is what my center looks like, where I pinched those 10 stitches, and then check the front. You can go through and finish sewing a little bit on the front if you need to, the same way. Keeping the flare in place. Then you can take, after you finish sewing that in place, take your yarn, bring it right through the center so you can tie a knot and bury the loose yarn end on the inside. And then we're ready to finish the body of the fin of the tail. Now you're ready to join your yarn again. Here I'm going to join my yarn into the front. Just bring up a loop and then chain one and go ahead and tie a knot where you joined. For mine, I'm going to go ahead and go right into the next stitch and bring up a loop and then make a single crochet. Then I'm going to go ahead and place my yarn marker for a decrease round. So I'm going to make one single crochet into 3 stitches. and then make my decrease stitch. And then repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. 1 single crochet into 3 stitches and then your decrease stitch. Then repeat that pattern all the way around.